faced a naked man passed out on a donkey.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. That was awkward. We were never supposed to leave the backyard.
Okay, if you saw a donkey or a burro, as I call it, you would outrun him to get away from him. You would not touch.
No. I wouldn't run away from a donkey. I would run away from a bear.
But you wouldn't run away from a bear. Would you get Dion?
I would try to run away. First of all, it doesn't matter how fast you run as long as the person with you is not as fast.
Better hope it's a group.
But I wouldn't. Would you run away from a donkey? I wouldn't. No. Camels? You ever petted a camel?
Yes, I
petted a camel. Yeah. That's sweet. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, do the Eagles have to win tonight? What happens to Eli if he loses again? And should the Jags play half their home games in London? We'll get to that later, because we begin today with the hostile takeover of the Minnesota Timberwolves by Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, can't get enough.
Yesterday, Butler showed up at practice unannounced and reportedly dominated the play and punctuated his efforts with provocative comments towards management. He then gave a long interview to Rachel Nichols of ESPN in which he talked about his passion and his honesty and his need to be appreciated. The Timberwolves were so flummoxed by this that they canceled practice today. Butler seized that opportunity by calling a players-only meeting where he aired his grievances toward management and conveyed to the team his feeling that, I run this. Wilbon, what do the Timberwolves do now?
Saddle up, baby. Play a game. We can't get to the season quickly enough. Play the games. You got a leader out there, and maybe this style of leadership, Tony, maybe it doesn't have a long shelf life because there's so many sensitive players today that they don't really want to be dictated to by the old guy on the team. At least that's where it seems we're going. But as long as Jimmy Butler is in that uniform, that Timberwolves uniform, they open the season in San Antonio next week, I would put Jimmy Butler on the court and see what the T-Wolves have.
So we got the report about the players-only meeting from The Athletic. This thing is moving at a very fast pace, what's going on in Minnesota. I'm going to go back to what I originally thought, which gives me no particular sympathy to Butler, because nobody wanted to trade Jimmy Butler.
That's right.
Nobody wanted to get rid of Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler said, trade me, get me out of here, I have issues. I wonder if this is a capsizing right now. I think what I'm going to suggest now is very radical. And it's based on the reading of Patrick Royce today in the Star Tribune, in which he says of Jimmy Butler that his head grew larger in recent years, that he doesn't think he's the player that perhaps you think he is. And he said about Thibodeau, apparently he did not confront Butler in any manner, and he lost his roster forever. Now, that may be overstatement. But if I was there, I might actually think of getting rid of Thibodeau completely. If I felt, oh well,
you lost the season.
And I would say to Jimmy Butler, it's yours, go play. But if we have tremendous conflict, I may quiche on him.
I think that take is wrong. First of all, there's one fact that matters in Jimmy Butler in terms of how well he played. When he was on the roster, okay?
He's the best player.
The Timberwolves had a winning percentage of .627. That trailed in the West only Golden State and Houston. And when he went out, they couldn't win. They were 10-13 without him. So, Tony, he's got a big head. He wasn't as good.
Why
they were
does he want to leave?
You know, we've been over this every day. You keep saying you have no sympathy. You don't need any sympathy. Put him out there. Let him try to lead the way he wants to lead. If it doesn't work, you got up until the All-Star break. You can make a deal.
What does he mean by being
with Jimmy Butler?
What does that mean to be appreciated?
What does that mean? I watched him say it. I just think this. If Jimmy Butler's out there and he wants to make some demands of younger players that he doesn't think are playing up to his standard, that's what leaders on a team have done traditionally. And if it doesn't work, then get rid of him. But start the season next week with Jimmy Butler.
We move now to what started out as another very good Thursday night game, a blood rivalry, the Eagles and the Giants. Sadly, neither team is setting the league on fire, which sets up this question, Wilbon. To be taken seriously for a repeat trip to the Super Bowl, is this a must-win game for the Eagles?
A must-win. So let me get this right. The first-place team in that division, which we both think is no good,
Washington,
is 2-2.
Right.
They lose this week, they'll be 2-3. So the Eagles could lose and be a half game out.
Still.
They could lose and be no more than a game and a half out. So, and the other teams are the Giants and the Dallas Cowboys, whose owner takes a shiv to them every week publicly in front of a bank of microphones. So there's no must anything. The Eagles don't even have a must-win week game next week. So no.
Okay, so I'm going to parse the question a little bit. I actually do think it's a must-win game for the Eagles because of this. I don't think it has anything to do with the return trip of the Super Bowl. I don't think beating the Giants means anything.
Oh, good.
But I think if you lose this game to a terrible team in your own terrible division, then I think the rest of the NFC looks at the Eagles now and says, who cares? Who cares? And I don't understand what's going on because Carson Wentz has 5 touchdown passes and only 1 interception, and they're still 1-2 with Carson Wentz, and he's been sacked, I think, 12 times. Something's not working there. Not working.
Don't you always say the other teams get paid too?
Yes, they
got
do.
Coaches that get paid.
Yes, they do.
And the Super Bowl team often faces this kind of targeting, if you will.
Do they start off this bad usually?
Carson Wentz. Even the Patriots have started off 2-1. The Eagles are 2-3 at this point, but Carson Wentz is coming off a serious knee injury.
That's
and
right.
he needs some time. And 3 games, which is what he's played, is not time enough to decide, Carson Wentz isn't getting it done for us. The Eagles are
I'm not
struggle.
dumping Carson Wentz.
The Eagles
they don't run the ball, and now with a
Giants
out, they can't run it.
Tonight.
That's what I think.
Beat them, but it's not a must-win.
Here are some numbers for you.
It's not.
The Eagles happen to own the Giants. They've beaten them 3 straight. They've beaten them 7 of 8. 7 straight primetime games.
Yeah, I
They've
think
beaten
that's 7
them.
and 2
8 out of 10 in New York. 8 out of 10 in New York. So if they lose this,
they come back next week. We'll be asking on Thursday, is this a must-win for the Eagles?
Not on Thursday, because they won't be in the Thursday night game. They won't be in that.
This was a team off the beaten path for you. You'd be saying, and making such a big deal. But it's the Eagles, I-95 Eagles, Giants, woo.
Bears, who cares?
The team that is in
I got to laugh on that. Did you hear that? That was good.
Need of a win, no matter what he says, is the New York Giants. Because a loss would drop them to 1-5. They're nearing the point, just like last season, when management wants to take a look at the future. One catch, that would mean turning away from Eli Manning, who is 4-16 in his last 20 starts.
That's awful.
Like that record?
That's
so
awful.
Tony, if Eli struggles once again, what's the Giants' move?
Let me just repeat. This guy has 2 Super Bowl rings. 4-16 in his last 20 is awful. What is their move? They have no move. Okay, they fired.
They go to the backup.
We'll get to them in a second because nobody in America's heard of them. They fired the coach last year because he benched Eli Manning. They brought in Shermer, right, to resurrect Eli Manning.
Yeah.
If they go to 1-5, how's that resurrection working? Now go ahead. Tell who's backing up Eli Manning.
I've never heard of him. There's a guy from Richmond and a guy from where else?
Okay. There's a guy from
Richmond.
No, wait. The guy from Richmond is Kyle Lauletta. You're not familiar with his oeuvre?
No, you are.
How about Alex Tanney from Monmouth, but not that Monmouth, not the one in New Jersey, the one in Illinois, which I was unfamiliar with. He's 30.
Off I-95.
He has 14 passes in 9 years in the league.
So they
can't go to
they have no move.
No,
the move is Eli. Here's the move.
They have no move.
And with the first pick in the draft,
That's right.
the New York Giants select. That's the move.
Do you
which means
remember
they have no move.
when Peyton Manning, Eli's 37 years old now, he's not a kid. When Peyton Manning, when he had the neck operations and you got the sense that he didn't have the arm he used to, he went to Denver. And even in Denver, you said, whoa, he can't even throw it 20 yards in the air. But he went to 2 Super Bowls in 4 years, which is why there was speculation last year that when Tom Coughlin landed in Jacksonville with Blake Bortles, that they would bring Eli Manning in.
Tom Coughlin would know whether Eli can play.
Well,
maybe number 13, who's sitting there with Lil Wayne, maybe they're plotting out the future of the Giants.
Yeah, that's right.
Everybody went crazy. What he said was right. Every bit of his analysis about where Eli is at this point of his career is accurate. People don't want to hear, in a lot of cases, a teammate saying that about a guy who's got 2 Super Bowl rings and likely
Do you know where the
headed to the Hall of
Giants?
Fame.
You know what they are now? They're the Titanic.
They're bad.
They're the Titanic.
You know what? I'm rooting for them tonight.
We're going to London for our next story. The Daily Mail reports that Jacksonville owner Shad Khan is looking to put the Jaguars in his soon-to-be-acquired Wembley Stadium digs. He will reportedly keep the Jags based in Jacksonville, but he wants to play at least 4 games in London annually. Wilbon, would this be a good thing or a bad thing for the league?
Well, Tony, the good thing would be the NFL is trying to force its presence internationally, particularly in Europe. It doesn't particularly work because they got football in Europe, the football they prefer, and they got
the real football.
They call this American gridiron. They have no respect for this. But if you can get a team that can sell apparel, sell jerseys, and have 1 or 2 stars, you can get something the rest of the NFL teams don't have in Europe, and that would be important, if not to the NFL, though tangentially so. It would be important to Jacksonville and that owner who's got other grand ideas. So it will be important for him and his team and a little bit the NFL.
Let me try and understand
a little
this.
bit.
You are saying that the important issue here is if the NFL can accessorize in a different continent.
That's right.
That's interesting.
That's money.
They already play 3 games in London each year,
but
and each one sells out.
And nobody
I know.
don't identify with anybody.
Okay, so what I'm getting to is if they play one more and Jacksonville plays all of them, and it keeps other people from having to make that
They're
trip.
Europe's team, though.
So the answer to the question is it can't possibly be a bad thing for the league. We're not sure it's a good thing, but it helps all the other teams. And let's just say the larger question is, how does it affect them competitively, Jacksonville? And if it hurts them, you know what the other owners are? They're happy because they can go and beat them.
Is Jacksonville the kind of team that European sports fans could sort of take seriously or rally around?
Sure, any team that goes over there 4 times a year.
They gotta have a star, don't they? They don't have a star. Who's the star?
Well, Leonard Fournette, if he gets back, will be a star. How about your
Ramsey?
Yeah,
the
cornerback.
roared.
Let's take a break. Coming up, what might Bill Belichick do to contain Patrick Mahomes? We're going to ask Steve Young.
We'll also ask him how a quarterback is supposed to act when his kicker can't make squats.
See, the thing about Jacksonville is no one in Europe, I would think, considers that a big-time American
That's
city.
what I'm saying.
Right. But you can...
Pardon the Interruption is brought to you by Sherwin-Williams. Make the most of your color with the very best paint. Ask Sherwin-Williams. Sweet cinnamon sugar on the outside, crazy on the inside. Crave those crazy squares.